Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Smith. I'm the director of Michigan State University AgBioResearch, and I'm pleased to be able to be speaking this afternoon with Jesse Randall, who is the director of the Forestry Innovation Center in the Upper Peninsula up in Escanaba. So, Jesse, welcome. Look forward to the conversation.
Hi, George. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so before we get into, the focus of this conversation, which we're going to talk about your work, how it's relevant to the new One Team, One Health emphasis area at Michigan State, and a whole host of other questions. But I got to ask you out of curiosity, how's the weather up in Escanaba? How much snow do you have?
You know, it changes every 5 minutes. Yesterday we had 40 and rain, and today we have 13 snow and high winds. So I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and that's kind of why we like living in the UP. I think you've had way more snow than we've had this winter so far.
Yeah, I think that might be right. So, for those of you in our listening audience, I would encourage you, if you ever have the opportunity to travel up to the Upper Peninsula, to stop in Escanaba at the Forestry Innovation Center and see Jesse. He's doing some really, really innovative work that's making a difference, not only in the local community, but for economic development in the Upper Peninsula and beyond. And he loves visitors. So, um, just a kind of a tip there for the future. All right, Jesse, let's get into it. We got a host of topics we want to talk about, but let's start with this new emerging area of emphasis at Michigan State University, One Team, One Health. And we talk about One Health, we're really talking about the interaction of plants, animals, and the environment and how they all work together to influence human health. It's not a new topic, but a very, very relevant topic to the future, and one that Michigan State University can definitely excel in, given our strengths in plant science, given our strengths in soil science, environmental studies, agriculture, food, animal science, and human health. And you are part of a team doing some really, really innovative, exciting research in the area of human health that relates to your work with maple trees and products from maple trees. So, tell us a little bit about your work at the Forestry Innovation Center and how it ties to the One Health concept.
Sure. It really starts with a team approach that we've taken here at the center. We've put together a world-renowned team of experts from Northwestern and from Montana State University, working here on some ideas that really we were the first in really the nation to have this idea that maple sap and maple syrup could be viewed beyond just something you put on pancakes. We began to notice through our research that there were differences in maple sap. And with one of our partners, we began to go down the road of how is this going to be, or how could this influence human health for cancer survivors and those that are going through cancer treatments? Because if we think about cancer and we think about sugar, um, there's some thought that sugar is very antagonistic, and that it feeds cancer, and so cancer survivors are very wary of putting sugar in their body, and they want to know where their food comes from. But there's this thought that maple syrup and maple sugar are a quote unquote safe sugar, and I use that term cautiously. We began to notice that there were differences in red maple sap and in sugar maple sap at different concentrations. They grew different microbes at different rates, which meant they inverted the sugars at different rates. We are now formalizing the process to look at those different type of maple trees, the different concentrations of maple sap, and how we treat that sap through pasteurization, how we bottle that, how we can that, how we preserve that maple sap, all the way through how the human body then takes that maple sap in like an electrolyte drink, like a Gatorade or one of those other drinks compared to water during the rehydration process? How effective is it at rehydrating the human body? And is that sugar then triggering the cancer? Is it not only mentally acceptable for those cancer survivors and cancer patients to take that sugar in, but is the human body recognizing that sugar in the same way? So that was a long kind of example of what we're doing, but it's cutting edge. It's nobody else in the country is thinking and pairing the different maple saps that you get with the microbial load that we have with our microbiome experts and the human health expert at Northwestern who deals with cancer survivors. So it really is a groundbreaking avenue that we take a natural product made here in Michigan and think of it now as a almost a pharmaceutical product.
Oh, Jesse, I just got to say that is such a cool story. Such a cool story. You are by training a forester, trained in forestry,
Yep.
do a lot of great work that impacts what we think of as a traditional forestry logging industry, doing a lot of great work about alternative products that can come from trees and whatnot. And here you are, a forester, collaborating with folks in the human health world, talking about new innovative strategies and products that can help cancer patients. That in itself is a great reflection of the power of One Health research, bringing multidisciplinary teams together like you've done to solve complex problems that have a positive impact on human health and make the world a better place. So, yeah, what a great story.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about the partnership and the people involved
Sure.
and that how that all evolved and
Yeah.
how you got connected with your partners at Northwestern and others that are interested in this topic.
Yeah, and I guess that goes right back to the strength of what MSU offers through its undergraduate and its graduate mechanism. So I did my doctoral work at MSU. So did my microbiologist that's now at Montana State. It is a lifelong partnership that we have built because of our graduate school connections. And so Seth came along. We knew each other from graduate school. He rose through the ranks of NIH funded research. He has an internationally recognized lab. And that's how the partnership at Montana started. It was because of grad school. And we've carried that collaboration ever since. And having a university like Michigan State with the breadth and depth of what they offer their graduate school students, you never know where that's going to lead us. And so that brought us our microbiologist, and we began to ask these questions. And as luck would have it, one of my employees at the time, he volunteered and then began to work for a nonprofit called True North Treks, which David at Northwestern had started as an outreach of all of the cancer work that he was doing at Northwestern. And so one day he came to visit while we were doing syrup. We sat around and we had a couple of cups of coffee and we began to think, how can we integrate maple syrup and maple sugar and maple sap into this? And out of those conversations were born two USDA funded projects, and we are at where we're at now. Again, because of the connections between that was an employee and a nonprofit who happened to be run by a researcher. They knew the capacity of what we had, and we're now in our about our fourth year of that partnership, looking at ways that we can now bring more researchers on and kind of alter the questions that we are asking because we can now attract the best of the best throughout the world, really.
Yeah, right on, Jesse. So many important points there that I just want to follow up on a
Mhm.
couple. One is graduate education. That's something we really should talk more about in the context of these stories when we're talking about the real life impact of research. And graduate students oftentimes they are the workhorse. They are the foundation of research that help get things done. They're the next generation of scientists. And beyond that, through the course of graduate training and beyond, people are making lifelong valuable connections that can really make a difference, not only personally, but also professionally, and lead to new discoveries. And what a great example. And I would say, under the theme of one team, one health, and even beyond that, one of our big operational goals at Michigan State University AgBioResearch is to really work deliberately and strategically to expand our network of partners, both in the traditional areas we work in, but in non-traditional areas we work with. That's how you get innovative teams together. That's how you get new ideas and develop synergies that can make an even greater impact in the future. So, what a great story. And Jesse, I know we could take all of our time together talking more about this project and the One Health aspect, and maybe we follow up at another time and talk more. But I want us to drill in a little bit deeper into the work that you do that's more generally relevant to maple syrup. I've heard you say before that Michigan has the potential to be a powerhouse, the nation's leader in maple syrup production. And I know you're working really, really hard to provide new opportunities for small and large operations to sort of get in the business and be successful. So, talk a little bit about the potential for Michigan in this area and the work you're doing and how it's benefiting people in the Upper Peninsula and across the state that are interested in maple syrup production.
Sure. And you know, we're when you look at our FIA data, our forest inventory and analysis data, Michigan and especially the Upper Peninsula, we sit here with the tappable trees that are available. It's larger than all of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine combined. So if you look at what maple syrup does for Vermont's ag economy, it pumps $400 million into that rural economy annually as a cash and carry product direct to smaller producers. All right. They have name recognition. They have their ag department is pushing it. So we have to generate that. And I say we have to generate it, but it's happening with or without us. So we're trying to guide the growth of that industry. We are blessed with the Great Lakes. We are blessed with some level of a climate buffer, at least here in the UP. Those that are producers on the fringe of the maple region are beginning to catch hold of the fact that Michigan is the future. We are the sleeping giant of the maple industry. They're coming here because they know they have at least their lifespan and perhaps their children and their grandchildren's lifespan to set an operation up because we're buffered through human climate change. And so we're helping producers at all levels. If they want to scale from 25 taps or if they want to start at 25,000 taps, we have invested in the systems that allow us to showcase both the research and the demonstration at those smaller scales and help them build up as they go. But then we also are relevant with all of our funded research and the scale at which we've invested in here at the FIC to make meaningful or to give meaningful answers to larger producers, whether that's through tubing sanitation, whether that's through understanding the microbial contributions and the forest management of these larger sugar bush stands, all the way to helping the foresters that are being hired to manage some of these plots of trees. How do you use modern technology? How are we integrating LiDAR? How are we integrating remote sensing into the forest management decisions that we're working again with another researcher on remote sensing and plant physiology to make the best selections of maple trees on a landscape level scale and do it with computer and machine learning. So we are improving the sugar bush from the time we go in and thin until the time they run that tubing system, and how do we do it. So we work across multiple scales so we can be relevant across the entire state of Michigan and to all producers, big, small, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, Jesse, you won't find a bigger fan of Michigan agriculture, Michigan natural resources, and Michigan products than the Ag Bio Research Director, George Smith. But in all seriousness, I do have to tell you, I've had the opportunity to taste the maple syrup that you produce at the MSU Forestry Innovation Center. And I would put it up there, rank it higher than any maple syrup I've tasted that's been produced elsewhere, including Vermont, which is thought to be the leader and the gold standard. So you're doing it right, and there's so much potential. And maple syrup isn't something that you can harvest and produce all year round. It's seasonal. And I know you have a really, really exciting event each year at the center called I believe, the Maple Weekend, where the public can come out and actually see all aspects of maple syrup production, from the trees with the taps to how it's collected to how you actually process that into syrup and bottle it. So, talk a little bit more about that process, that event, which is a tremendous outreach event, and how you're also committed to making sure the research you do gets out to the people who can use it, which relates directly to your appointment in MSU Extension.
Yeah, so that event really was it was not my brainchild. Like we didn't create this. It was essentially copied in the state of New York. They had a wine tour and a wine event, and the New York maple producers began to copy what they did. And as a child, I saw this grow from 10 sugar houses that started to multiple hundreds, and I saw the capacity for one bringing people that are not out in the, let's say they're not maple producers, bring them to the sugar house and talk to them about forest management, about how trees are tapped, how the sap is collected, where their food comes from. There's a resurgence in people wanting to know where their food comes from. And at Michigan State, being the land grant institution, as you know, I feel it's our duty to then get these folks the best information. And we integrate across that entire 2-day event. We integrate the research we do. It is our duty as the land grant and the research station to bring these individuals in and talk to them. Again, child's perspective all the way to a seasoned producer will come through our doors. So we have to be prepared to talk to somebody that knows what they're doing, to somebody that has never been in the forest. And the team that we've put together here can do that. That's the impressive part of what this team offers. It doesn't matter your level and familiarity with forestry or maple. We bring them through that entire process. And it's a way that we can showcase all of the work and the partnerships that we have here that AgBio offers. And so we are, it's a kind of a broken record through the days where we're running these tours. Last year or 2 years ago, we had about 400 people. Last year, we had just shy of 1,000 across those days. And it's gotten to the point now where people are showing up on the week before because they want to beat the rush. And, we're seeing more schools get involved with it. And really, where we make a meaningful difference is we provide continuity year to year. We allow these school groups to come in, and those kids will bring their parents here. And how it's evolved in Western New York is we're now seeing that product, that child that came through every year to the sugar house, bring their own children back to the sugar house. And you have to take a long-term view of how these programs are going to impact the community and the understanding. And once you get them used to coming to this facility and having a good interaction, they're going to come back, and then they're going to bring their children back. They're going to look at MSU as the source of information. And what has morphed from, a very heavy maple event now is we're getting questions about, hey, my tree has an issue, or I want to do this type of forest management. Where do I go for information? We're becoming a clearinghouse for way more than just maple. And it's because they're becoming comfortable with us as an information source. And I think that's the power of, you bring these folks in, you give them good quality information, you spend the time with them, and they value the information you get, and they come back.
Yeah, well put, Jesse. The work we do is so important, and it just doesn't stop at when a research trial is finished and a scientist writes a publication. We have a duty and obligation to make sure that information gets out to the people who can utilize it and apply it. We also have a duty and an obligation to help the public learn more about where their food comes from and the forestry industry. And AgBioResearch has 15 outlying research stations throughout the state of Michigan that help our scientists conduct their research. We have 15 because a lot of the work we do, a lot of the commodities we study, a lot of the questions, important questions that our scientists answer, are local and regional due to the nature of the industry. And like you illustrated with the concentration of maple trees and the potential for the Upper Peninsula to be a hub for maple syrup production and the leader in the US, we also want these research stations to be really centers and fixtures in the local community, a place that the people in the region, in the next door town, appreciate and want to be a part of what's going on there. And you are doing that so incredibly well, Jesse. So kudos. It's one of the many things we're proud of about the work you do at the Forestry Innovation Center. And again, another great example of the interconnection between research and extension outreach activities. So pivoting a little bit to talk a little bit more of the broader perspective of the work that's done at the Forestry Innovation Center, which you lead.
Sure.
In addition to work on maple syrup, the center manages long-range studies from everything on disease in white pine trees to there's a 300-year oak project and others. Talk about the importance of this type of work and how the insights gained from these studies help us support resilience in interconnected human and ecological systems.
Sure. Again, what MSU offers to this community, and when I say community, MSU now is larger than just Michigan. We are a Great Lakes institution when it comes to maple. We're now one of the world's top maple institutions. But what it offers here at this station and at all of those farms is continuity through time. We're going to be here. And when it comes to forestry, we have to take a longer term perspective. Things take longer to grow. And so we have the luxury when I'm gone that the records we have kept and the partnerships we formed will continue on. I'm just a placeholder, and I'm to leave it better than what I found it. And so when we look at the historical importance of what white pine meant in the state of Michigan. So the forests that we have in Michigan today are not what we had when the early settlers arrived. It was cut over. It built Chicago twice. It built the major cities around the Great Lakes. But it was really cut over and it was hit hard. And what came back is the forest that we have today. One component that was heavy in the forest was the white pine. It's not so much now. It needs a certain type of environment. And we kind of altered that with our past logging opportunities, let's say in the 1890s, the 1850s. We really hit it hard. So part of the study is looking at spacing trials, and it's looking at insects, and it's looking at disease resistance. But that's a longer term. That study's been in 28 years. We've just thinned it in the process of thinning it right now today. to look at advanced growth, to look at the insects, to ask the next level of questions, how climate change will affect the coning potential, the disease potential. And so over the next 25 to 50 years, this plantation it's going to answer some fundamental questions for climate change and what we can expect, but it's going to play an increasingly important role in regenerating the next white pine for the next 200 to 300 years. It will be a seed source of the best quality, the most disease resistant, the most climate adapted system that we have out there. We're doing that for white pine. We just started that for red pine. Red pine plays a huge role in the economy of Michigan's timber industry because of telephone poles. And so the life's work of one researcher went into basically 100 different accessions of plant material that are now here that will set the seed source for the next 200 to 300 years. MSU offers consistency across that research platform, working with the DNR. You mentioned the white oak problem or project. It was born from a Maker's Mark whiskey has identified that we have a problem where the climate is shifting where they get their white oak for their barrels. And if we know about bourbon, 50% of the taste of that whiskey comes from the barrel. And they have such a small supply shed to get their wood that the chemistry of the tree is changing because it's growing under different conditions. So we worked with the University of Kentucky, and we've got seedlings from every county where white oak is native, and it's growing here at the UP. We're as far north as white oak has historically been found. And so we are raising these trees looking at the chemistry of the wood, not if it will make a barrel, but does it even hold the right chemistry to make it? Do I think we will be the next barrel producer for the whiskeys? Not in 300 years, but that's the level that MSU is questioning and able to answer. That's what our stations provide, is that out of the box thinking. We can set aside a few acres and we can manage that for those really important long-term questions.
Yeah, great examples, Jesse. I'm glad we're able to talk about those briefly today. So not only are you and the Forestry Innovation Center vested in solving immediate problems, you are a hub for long-term research.
Oh yeah.
And by long term, I say research that spans multiple generations of researchers that is going to be important to the future of the forestry industry, is going to be important to the future of natural resources, our forests that the public enjoy in Michigan, and maybe kind of relevant or important to the future of folks listening on this call that enjoy drinking bourbon. That's
Yeah.
the scope of the work and the impact and the breadth of the studies that are being done there that really has been a well kept secret. And it's our job to make sure these are no longer secrets. So I really appreciate the conversation today. You know, we've hit on a lot of great subjects, and I wish we had more time.
Mhm.
But as we wrap up, I know you're a pretty enthusiastic person. So am I. I'm very much an optimist looking to the future. So tell me a little bit about what excites you most about the future of the Forestry Innovation Center. And what do you think the future holds the next 5 years, 10 years in terms of emerging priorities or opportunities?
One of the things we haven't really touched on, and the thing that I see us working to evolve towards, is our leadership, the MSU leadership in SFI, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative. That is a collection of mills and landowners, and MSU now sits at the head of the table, and we help organize and run 5 million acres, and it's 5 million procured tons of wood, and it's 1,000 loggers that we directly oversee through their training. What excites me the most is that I can go to our forestry department, and I can go to some of our other departments, and I can pull the best work that they are currently doing, and I can immediately interject that into the natural system through the management that's being put on 5 million acres of ground instantly. And what MSU now offers is we offer the trainings to all of these people. We offer the third-party certifications for sustainability. We are now the leaders of the industry. But what is happening now recently is they're asking us to help answer research questions that they're willing to fund, that they're willing to put ground towards or open their mills to our researchers. So I know I don't have the time to do it all. And so how it's working is we're taking those questions that they have and we're going back to our faculty in the department and saying, you need to talk to this person because they need an answer to this question. And here's the funding mechanisms. And so that's really what excites me. It's not that I can do it all. I can't. We've provided the leadership, and now our departments will benefit, and AgBio will benefit because it's got our stamp on it in conjunction with all of these mills and all these loggers. It's an immediate impact day to day on how we change water quality, forest management, wildlife habitat management. We do it now as part of our day job.
Wow, Jesse, what a great testament to the importance of the land grant mission, the importance of Michigan State University, and the important role that ag bio research and extension play, um, helping make a positive contribution to uh, various industries in the state. Over 5 million acres, you mentioned, helping train all the loggers in the state. So that's incredibly important. That's incredibly impressive in terms of the scope of impact. And you made one other really important point. It's also a source and a direct connection to the people vested in those industries, the loggers, the foresters, to hear from them what the problems of the future are and be in a position to help address those. It's not our job always to pick the problems and what to work on. It's these partnerships, it's relationships with people in the state of Michigan that drive the agenda and drive the research and drive the questions we can answer and drive the impact that makes a difference for our state economically, makes a difference for the state in terms of our natural resources, and makes a difference for, I would argue, every Michigander in the state of Michigan. So well put. Jesse, we're at the kind of conclusion of our time. Any final comments or anything you would like to add? It's been a great conversation.
I would just encourage all your listeners if they can take a tour, go to as many of the ag bio stations as possible. You'll see something different at all of them, and I would just encourage them to get out. I think we are kind of, I don't know the right term to use, but we're an undervalued or underknown entity in the state from most or for most people. So there's something for everybody at the ag bio stations across the state.
Yeah, well put, Jesse. So again, appreciate you, appreciate all the great work you're doing. Fantastic conversation and look forward to connecting with you again sometime.
Thanks, George. I look forward to it.